voting. They only care about looking trendy. That's the whole point. That's why they're out there on the streets of Trafalgar Square right now. Again, lecturing old people. We've got this narrative in the British media. The old people must die. They ruined our future. They're not going to be around for much longer anyway. Why do we even let them vote in the first place? These are the people whose fathers literally fought and died for Britain not to be ruled from Germany. And now these punk millennial idiots who are completely uninformed, completely ignorant, are lecturing old people about the mere fact that they had the chance to vote. In fact, here's a tweet. I retweeted it just a while ago. Dear young Remainers, 65 years old plus new rationing, 75 years old plus new the Luftwaffe, 90 years old plus new Panzers. They didn't steal your future, they gave you one. Yet these punks are all over YouTube, all over Facebook, arguing, and in some cases backed up by the leftist media, saying that because the older generation stole their future, the old people shouldn't be allowed to vote anymore. Because, you know, youth unemployment is really great in Europe, isn't it? You know, 45% youth unemployment in Spain, 50% youth unemployment in Greece. If that's a bright future, then what the hell are these people thinking? Absolutely ridiculous. Yet again, they're being legitimized by the media, by Labour MPs, by idiots like Richard Branson, who is also calling for a second referendum, and by billionaire globalists, insider trading crooks like George Soros. And isn't it ironic that all these, quote, anarchists are out there on the streets protesting in favor of the political establishment, in favor of the status quo, protesting in favor of the big banks? I mean, leftists are all suddenly concerned about Barclays Bank losing some money. Again, they're complete frauds. So now we got Soros. We got this article out of Breitbart. Soros, Brexit vote must be overturned or the European Union is doomed. The Hungarian-American open borders advocate and billionaire George Soros has declared Brexit could easily be overturned, you know, that pesky democracy causing problems once again, and that the European Union must then be remade with power transferred from national governments to EU bodies. Again, exactly as we saw yesterday, they're talking about scrapping the last remaining vestiges of sovereignty that these countries have got in a desperate last-minute bid to solidify, to integrate into that political federal superstate that they had planned all along. Meanwhile, all these countries are going to be asking for a referendum. This is going to be a domino effect. But don't think they're going to go quietly into the night. As I said, they're trying every trick in the book to sabotage this. Soros went on to slam illiberal democracies like Hungary, which he said must be remodeled on European values. Oh, you mean countries like Hungary that actually try to protect their own borders, that try to preserve any kind of national identity whatsoever? This creature is a total enemy of everything that's good, everything that's sovereign, everything that's independent. Mr. Soros was appearing on a panel at the annual council meeting of the European Council on Foreign Relations. On the topic of Britain's EU referendum, he claimed that the British public were shocked that voters chose Brexit and stated those who voted Leave had genuine buyer's remorse. Well, as I pointed out before the break, you actually look at the polls, only 1% of Leave voters are unhappy. Only 1% regret their vote, according to the polls. Meanwhile, 4% of Remain voters are happy with the referendum result. Again, suggesting that 4% regret their vote on the Remain side. So it's 4-1. And yet you've got this entire media narrative, which is now being seized on by Soros, claiming that, oh, we were just too dumb and stupid to understand the consequences. Now we regret what we did and we're so sorry. And let's have another referendum because we don't really know what we're doing. Let's just hand back power to the technocrats and the experts because they know what's best for us. Complete and utter BS. And again, as I predicted, we've got people within the British political establishment trying to sabotage the Brexit vote. This is not just coming from Brussels. In fact, many voices in Brussels have been more urgent to get this process done because they want to move on quickly. They've been totally embarrassed. But here in the UK, it's a different story. Here's another headline: Farage, Tory leavers already backsliding on referendum outcome, effectively selling out. UK Independence Party leader Nigel Farage, who of course gave the historic speech in front of the EU Parliament earlier today, has raised questions over Boris Johnson and leaders of the official Tory-led Vote Leave campaign, claiming that he believes they are backsliding over the referendum result. And of course, he's right. They've been largely absent in the 4 or 5 days since the referendum vote, suggesting that they're not even that keen on triggering that Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty and getting this done, getting us out of the EU, following through on what the British people voted for. This is another thing I warned about. Many of the people who were spearheading that Vote Leave campaign were compromised. That's why they didn't even bring up the topic of immigration, which was one of the key issues which swung the vote in the end, until the last minute. So they're compromised. Now they're recommending all these people to lead the Conservative government who are globalists. Boris Johnson himself has been almost completely absent in the 4 or 5 days, since the referendum. Dan Henan, MEP, who is a member of the official Leave campaign, and parts of the Tory establishment have long advocated a Leave light settlement as first exposed by Breitbart. Vote Leave boss Dominic Cumming is on record saying that he thinks a second referendum is a distinct possibility and believes the UK should not invoke Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty. So the exact thing we voted for, the very people within the Vote Leave campaign right at the top are saying, well, maybe we'll just take our time on this. We'll drag our heels a little bit and maybe we won't invoke Article 50. No, that's not good enough. That's not what we voted for. So all that energy, all that vitriol that was directed towards the opposite side during this Brexit campaign, it looks like we're now going to have to switch that to the people who actually won the referendum. And again, this was all painfully predictable from the very beginning. Farage has got his unfavorable ratings in the UK. He's a divisive figure, but at least he's honest. And he's the one calling them out. And that's why we need to continue to hold their feet to the fire and continue to deride, debunk, discredit, and ridicule these idiot social justice warrior leftists who are out on the streets of London every day, basically calling for old white people to die or at least have their voting rights stripped from them, calling for democracy to be annulled. Absolutely shameful, given the fact that they're completely misinformed. I mean, you've seen the videos. As I said earlier, there's literally a video of a 22-year-old girl in London crying because she thinks that the UK leaving the EU means that the Nando's restaurant chain will be closing. And they had the temerity to call Vote Leave supporters, quote, low information. You saw the video up yesterday on Infowars.com of the young woman, the Vote Remain supporter, saying how upset she was that now the government wouldn't pay for her to travel to France because we're going to leave the EU. Saying that now everybody's opinions won't be the same because we're going to leave the EU. This is the level of information that these complete idiots are basing their opinions on. So we're going to continue to watch that. But now we're running out of time, so we're going to go to this Faith Goldie clip. A school in Canada, a high school in Canada, which has been admitting Syrian refugees, has basically been covering up. Finally, the emails have been released. These 22-year-old Muslim migrants with full beards, well-built, they've allowed them to attend the high school, and now they're hitting on 14 to 15-year-old girls. Here's that clip.
I never intended on becoming the voice for North American children victimized by our government's sloppy Syrian migrant policies. But regrettably, that is exactly what it's come to. Viewers might remember my trip to Halifax earlier this year. Interviews with Nova Scotia parents, teachers, and elementary school students at Chebucto Heights revealed a school-sanctioned cover-up. Muslim migrant boys in a Canadian school slapping, choking, and threatening young schoolgirls almost daily. A principal unwilling to discipline the delinquents, and a school board that dismissed the allegations as a byproduct of bigotry. Well, after we ran that report right here on the Rebel.media, we launched an e-tip line, tips@therebel.media, where we encouraged anyone whose child was being bullied without recourse to contact us so we could get to the bottom of it. One of the emails we received included a Facebook post. That post was made by a parent whose child goes to Fredericton High School in New Brunswick, Canada. The parent claims that school is bringing in, quote, an interesting mix of migrant students ranging from 11 to 22 years of age. The parent claimed that some of the adult men in that school had full beards and were trying to hit on 14 to 15-year-old female classmates. But after being brushed off, these adult migrant men took to successfully hitting on the girls in the years below. The parents said that the Canadian boys at Fredericton High School have become frustrated, but are too scared to speak up because, quote, they know how dangerous the "you're a racist" label will be for the rest of their lives. So we here at The Rebel followed up. We filed a Freedom of Information request with the school. We asked for any information regarding problems or issues surrounding the integration of Syrian migrant students at Fredericton High School. Well, we finally got some answers. Some 2,700 documents were sent our way, and we've been promised yet another batch sometime soon. What we found inside those documents is scandalous, if not fearfully expected. Emails between teachers reveal 20-year-old migrant men in classrooms with 14-year-old girls, aggressively challenging teachers and other students, particularly the girls. Migrant men using vulgar, sexual language in Arabic in front of the girls in their classroom. The results of an opinion survey given to the Syrian migrants, in which shy of 20% said that marital rape and forced abortions are okay. Emails between staff complaining about at least one refugee who, when asked about his hobbies, said he liked RPGs, making loud noises and gestures as he answered. Also in those emails, a migrant desire for gendered apartheid prayer rooms and school buses, as young migrant girls divulge to teachers fears of their own brothers and their fathers. Teachers establishing lockdown procedures for the school's refugee assessment classroom because of safety concerns for the person conducting those interviews. Anti-Semitic bullying, migrants targeting their Jewish peers. Now, an appropriate examination of all the red flags we found in those 2,700 pages would be impossible to do in just one video clip. That is why I'll be releasing one video every day until my show On the Hunt airs this Thursday night with the full report. In these updates, I'll wade deeper into Fredericton High School's dirty little secrets, an imported war on women, budding radicals in the classroom, and how political correctness is preventing a solution to that school's Syrian migrant mayhem. It's a report I wish I didn't have to file, but someone has to tell the other side of the story.
So that's the Rebel Media's Faith Goldy reporting on. Again, they've admitted these 22-year-old Muslim men into this high school. There's another report she came out with afterwards where they're expressing excitement about the Brussels terror attack. Now, recall, we also reported on earlier this year how migrants at Chebucto Heights Elementary School were abusing other children, in one case choking a girl with a metal chain while yelling, "Muslims rule the world." This is the cultural enrichment that Canada's importing right now. Because it's trendy, it's politically correct. Of course, we got the situation as well in Idaho, where a 5-year-old special needs girl was sexually abused by 3 migrant boys there in a laundry room, residents demanding answers over that, basically getting nothing back. So this is just a taste remember, to a far lesser extent, Europe's invited these people in at far greater numbers. And we'll get more into it after the break. We're also keeping track of that terrorist attack in Istanbul. Looks like the religion of peace has struck again. Final segment of the Alex Jones Show coming up soon. Breaking news at Infowars.com. Stay right there. Final segment of the Alex Jones Show. Again, just want to direct you to the Infowars store at InfoWarsStore.com. We got the all-new Hillary for Prison T-shirt 2.0. That's proven very popular in waking people up. Again, it's caused national news headlines in some situations. So get the all-new Hillary for Prison T-shirt at InfoWarsStore.com.